Hi, everybody. We'll just wait for a few more seconds while people are coming in the broadcast. And then we'll get started. All right. Welcome, everybody. Another daily broadcast on Russia Sanctions brought to you by the Association of Certified Sanction Specialists. This is episode 2 of March 4, 2022. My name is Saskia Rietbroek, and I'm the Executive Director of the Association of Certified Sanction Specialists, and I'm coming to you live from the Netherlands. So let's dive in. We have a couple of developments that we saw yesterday. I haven't seen anything coming out today yet. It's Friday afternoon, 5 p.m. here in the Netherlands and in Europe. And for all Europeans on the line, you're the diehards on a Friday afternoon to be listening to this broadcast. So thank you so much for joining us on a Friday. So we're going to focus on the oligarchs in this episode. We saw yesterday on March 3, we saw another round of blocking sanctions on the Russian elites and their family members as well, the oligarchs. So, of course, we have to keep in mind that even though they may not be directly involved in Russia's invasion in the Ukraine, they have invested their money around the world. They often have ties, not always, of course, but often they have ties to Putin, may have helped him gain influence and gain connections in the worlds of like real estate, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and fine arts. That's another, there was an interesting report, I think it was last year or the year before, from US Congress showing how oligarchs move their money through fine art. So blocked as of yesterday's action are 3 Russian oligarchs, 2 of their spouses, 3 of their children, 6 companies, and actually that was interesting, an aircraft, one of the jets, one of them owns, and one of the world's largest super yachts. So more about that in a minute. I would like to focus on one of these oligarchs, Mr. Alisher Burhanovich Usmanov. He's one of Russia's wealthiest billionaires. He has companies in several sectors, several Russian sectors and abroad. And he was designated under Executive Order 14024, which came out in April of last year, about a year ago, and under the Russian Harmful Foreign Activities Sanctions Regulations, Part 587. These regulations are new. They were published in the Federal Registry only a few days ago. I think it was on March 1, so on Tuesday. So they are very new. Anyway, so this guy, Usmanov, he has significant interests in the metal business, in mining, telecommunications, and information technology. And he's been designated under these new regulations and this executive order from last year for operating or having operated in the technology sector of Russia. So it's as easy as that, for having operated or operating in the technology sector of Russia. You can be designated for that. So he's close to Putin. Not only Putin, he's also close to Medvedev of the Security Council of Russia. They have financial ties and even personal ties as well. I believe he lets them stay in his mansions. So, and I think a very good step by OFAC was that they didn't only designate Usmanov himself, they also designated his super yacht. He owns one of the world's largest yachts under the name of Dilbar. And you think, I was like, what is his name? It turned out that this yacht is named after his mother. This is his yacht, was designated, this yacht is registered in the Cayman Islands, or flagged in the Cayman Islands, has its own IMO number. I thought only like container ships and, oil tankers have IMO numbers. I guess super yachts as well, when they are a certain size. And the worth of this yacht is believed between $600 and $735 million. It has 2 helipads. It has the largest swimming pool ever installed on a yacht. And I heard that just the maintenance of this vessel is 60 million a year. So that's why they say the 2 happiest moment of a boat owner is when you buy a boat and when you sell a boat. Or well, maybe in this case when it's seized, who knows. He also owns a private jet, which was also designated by OFAC, an Airbus A340. It's a large jet. I think it's I said earlier, I think it's a good step when they also designate these assets. Why? Because when you designate the assets, it's going to be easier for the authorities to seize them, because sometimes it's hard for the authorities to prove, right, that an asset is owned by, when an asset is owned by one of these people on the list. So when you designate the asset itself, it makes it right. It makes it easier. So I think this is a good step to designate not only the person, but also these assets. The jet is registered in the Isle of Man, and it costs between 350 and 500 million. This, just like his vessel, his yacht, this aircraft also has a nickname, and the nickname is Burkan. And guess what? That's his father's name. So the boat is named after his mother, and the jet is named after his father. Interestingly, also when I read the OFAC designation, OFAC said that when you spell out the plane's registration, which is the letter M, the letter I, the letter A, the letter B, and the letter U, when you spell that out, you hear, I am Alisher Burhanovich Usmanov. So it's a large plane. It's now on the list as well. So what this means is that any transactions related to this yacht or this aircraft, including things like maintenance, right, providing fuel, hiring of operating of staff, right, the crew, payment of docking fees, landing fees, any of these transactions, when they are conducted in US dollars or by US persons, are prohibited. One interesting thing that I saw with this designation is that OFAC also issued a license number 15 on March 3rd, and that actually authorized all transactions and unblocked all property of any entity owned 50% or more, directly or indirectly, by Usmanov. That does not appear on the OFAC's SDN list. So it looks like the OFAC 50% rule does not apply to Mr. Usmanov. There were also, in addition to this guy, there were also some other designations. I don't have time to go over them all, but there were some more people that were added as well. The European Union had also designated Usmanov, by the way. I don't think the UK has done it. So a second important development yesterday has not so much to do with new sanctions, but implementation. As of yesterday, Treasury can now share financial intelligence about sanctioned oligarchs with the Department of Justice as part of the effort to actually implement the sanctions and freeze these assets. So there's now a special task force for this, headed by the Department of Justice. I think that's great. These oligarchs, they can afford the best people in the world to set up sophisticated and complex networks, and they know that they are on the radar, so they will try to stay under it. I was looking actually with this Mr. Usmanov. You may remember the Paradise Papers a couple of years ago, 5 years ago now, I think it was. They revealed these papers. They revealed the secrets. The companies owned by a lot of rich people around the world. It was a leak of some law firms, a trust company, and some company registries in secrecy jurisdictions. And according to this information that was leaked by by the Paradise Papers, this guy Usmanov, that was designated a couple of days ago by the US and the EU, he was mentioned in these papers. This oligarch reportedly took a secret ownership of a trust company in the Isle of Man. And this was a company that was supposed to do independent due diligence on him and his companies. And right, when you own the company, that would clearly be a conflict of interest, right? And this is not the first time we see these things. I've seen it before. In an older case, when I was living in Miami, there was a bank in Miami that was, somebody bought an ownership in the bank, and he was somebody being investigated for money laundering, or he was a PEP. I can't remember the exact details, but he became intentionally he became an owner of the bank, a partial owner of the bank, because there was a rule that the compliance team would not monitor the transactions of the owners. So they know these rules, and they know, hey, if I buy an ownership in a company, in this case, this trust company in the Isle of Man, or in Florida, in this older case, you can sort of, not be scrutinized. So interesting developments, and these, I think, the governments in the West, the US, the EU, UK is a bit slower, I think, with the oligarchs, but the governments are determined to hunt them down. So this new task force that was launched recently will go after these Russian oligarchs. So that is a very good step, because you need, the Department of Justice, they have a lot of resources to do this, and criminal cases can expose them on a lot of things, right? Not only on sanctions evasion, but also on multiple, on other violations. And once they find an asset or a case on a topic like this, right, when it involves yachts and jets and offshore accounts and mansions, they don't let go. They worry it like a dog with a bone. So these Department of Justice officials, they go to the bottom. It will make headlines when they catch something. It's not just filing out government forms. It's about, the criminal sanctions as well that can be imposed, and a 20-year prison term. So it can be dramatic for these oligarchs. So another thing that came on the news, was it yesterday, is about this enforcement of these sanctions against the oligarchs. This is where the rubber hits the road. They actually seized a yacht of one of the oligarchs in France. So this was a yacht of the boss of Rosneft, a large oil company, Mr. Igor Sechin. And according to the reports that I read, he was trying to flee a French Riviera port. Again, this yacht also has a nickname. It was called Darth Vader. And I'm not a Star Wars fan, but my sons are. So I asked my son, is this a good guy or a bad guy? It sounds bad. He said, yeah, in most of the movies, he's a bad guy. I guess it depends on the Star Wars movie. But anyway, this person, Igor Sechin, was added to the EU sanctions list last week on February 28th. Or was it Monday? Yeah, Monday. So on February 28th, in fact, he had been on this US sanctions list before. This owner of this yacht, this high-ranking official of Rosneft, he was designated under an older authority of 2014 in the United States for being an official of the government of Russia. And he was actually redesignated on February 24 under another authority. So interestingly, also his son, Ivan Sechin, maybe he also owns a yacht, you can look for that. But he was designated as well. And what was the reason for him being designated? Because he's an adult son of another person who was designated, Igor Sechin. So interestingly, how this plays out for family members. So In any case, we see that the US and the EU are acting very fast on these oligarchs. I'm still waiting for the UK to take some more actions. I understand there's some growing frustration in the UK over the lethargy in hitting their wealth in so-called London grad, but we'll see if new sanctions come out there as well. So this was it. We have a couple more minutes for questions. So let me just see what came in. Okay, so one question is, so we are targeting potentially close people to the oligarchs. How far are they also applying that to direct family member of sanctioned persons in Putin's chain of control? Well, like in this example of Sechin, his son was also designated, and there's also spouses who are designated. So they actually go after the direct family members as well, just for being family members of these oligarchs. And I see. Thank you very much, Anna, for adding that. I heard that the UK has sanctioned Usmanov today as well. Yeah, good. Thank you so much for that addition, Anna. Okay, so let's see if we have another question. And if not, I guess people are, it's Friday afternoon. And anyway, we're going to be doing this next week as well as new sanctions come out. We'll always we'll keep you posted on what's going on on the UK, on the EU, and the US sanctions with regards to this fast going and very dynamic topic. I see there was another question. Was there any chance, or should there be an expectancy on any movement in sanctions towards cargoes of Russian interest? I guess cargoes on vessels. I'm not sure. I do hear that some of the larger shipping companies, maritime shipping companies, are no longer accepting Russian loads on their vessels. So even maybe it's not an official sanction issued by the government, but companies are taking their own actions as well. So thank you so much for all your questions and your comments, and I look forward to seeing you next week again in the next daily broadcast, and we'll see what happens today further. Any updates will be reported to you on Monday, 5 p.m. Amsterdam time, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. London. Thank you. Have a nice day.